Hey everybody, that video you just saw was from the streets of Tehran, Iran, and more about that in just a moment. Just a little quick report. I feel pretty good. I had a great night's sleep. I didn't wear the boot to bed. That was nice. I even took a little ride this morning. I got my crutches and took a few steps as directed by my orthopedist, and I went with Marina. She had to drive to the bank. She didn't like driving, but that's pretty much the way it is these days. So I went with her, and I've taken my daily steps with the boot. I'm a little sore. I think maybe I've been overdoing it, but it's okay. I'd rather no pain, no gain, right? So I've taken a few steps, and then I'm satisfied that I'm doing what the doctor has told me to do. All right, let's get to it. That video you just saw that I led with is, as I said, from Tehran, Iran, or Iran, however you say it. And I want to ask you a question, and I'm dead serious about this, because I just want to know, what do you think of when I say Iran? What mental images does that conjure for you? What do you think of when I say Iran or Tehran? You know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. I've never been to Iran. Perhaps some of you have. I have seen similar videos like this in the past, and the videos that I've seen and the photos I've seen show Tehran to be a very progressive city. I think that sometimes, based on the information that we're given here in the West, we think that everybody over there is in a burqa, and the men are in robes, and they're dragging women around by their hair and whatnot, and they're led by evil mullahs, and some of that may be true. I think a lot of it is not true. So much of what we hear in the West is propaganda that our government wants us to hear and to see. They want to present to us a line of thinking that we are to latch on to, and we base we draw our conclusions based on the media that we see or read or hear. And we're given this line about Iran, we're given a line about Israel, we're given a line about Ukraine, etc., etc., etc. And unless we do some digging, folks, unless we do some legwork on our own, then we are being gullible. You can't just accept what the mainstream media tells you as being fact, because we know that they've lied to us so much over the years, and we just can't get the truth out of them. Thus has spawned just a glut of alternative media and alternative news sources, and that's a very good thing. You know, if you restrict your information just to broadcast news or the cable network, CNN or Fox or whoever it may be, and you don't do some additional digging, you're being gullible. You need to broaden your horizons. There's an old saying from the 60s, and it says, question everything, and that's very good. No matter where you are in life, you should question everything. If you subscribe to a belief which does not allow for questioning, then you need to second guess that belief. If you subscribe to a religion that you can't comfortably question what that religion teaches, you might want to think about that. What is really happening here in Iran? You know, Trump's response to Iran is disheartening, and it's discouraging, because it does not sound like the Trump of the campaign, who sounded like he, in my estimation, like he was wanting to stop wars. You know, he took, as far as Russia and Ukraine went, I thought he was fairly level-headed about it. He didn't, people would ask him in the press, do you not condemn Russia? And he really never took that bait. He just said, I want the fighting to stop. And I think for the American president to say that, I believe that's the right answer. I just want the fighting to stop. What's happening between Iran and Israel? Who are you for? Who are you against? Well, I just want the fighting to stop. And that's the right answer if it's not our war. And these are not our wars, folks. Vietnam was not our war. Afghanistan was not our war. Just look, have we learned nothing? Here we go again. We have Vietnam, we've got Iraq, we've got Afghanistan, we've got Libya, we've got Serbia, and on and on and on and on it goes. And now here we are on the cusp of invading yet another nation. Has it occurred to anybody that all of this trouble that is boiling over in the Middle East they all have one thing in common, and that is Israel? Has that occurred to anybody? It's true in Syria. There's another one. It's true in Iraq. It's true in Iran, Egypt, Jordan. It goes on and on and on. But I believe that Iran is a distraction from the American perspective. We're big on distractions in this country. We're big on getting, it's hard to get the American people focused on what's truly important, like our debt. I just read this morning, our debt just passed $37 trillion. As Senator Rand Paul says, this debt is crippling us, and it is the single biggest threat to our national security. I want politicians in Washington that are truly America first. Now, Trump claims to be America first. I'm sorry, that just doesn't pass the smell test in my book. If you are so enamored with getting us embroiled in yet another conflict, this time with Iran, that's not America first. I don't care how you can't put lipstick on that pig, folks. I see Iran as simply being a distraction. As I said yesterday, if Iran and Israel want to go at it, let them. It's not our war, just as Vietnam was not our war. Iraq should not have been our war. Syria was not our war. Afghanistan. Did we learn nothing from when the old Soviet Union went into Afghanistan? Serbia, Libya, it goes on and on and on. But I believe that this is serving to be a distraction from one of really many things. And what I want to reference for you right now as an example is an exchange that took place over on Twitter, on X, between Dan Bongino and Robert Barnes. Now, by way of introduction, many of you will know who I'm talking about. Some of you may not. Dan Bongino, of course, is now the Assistant Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, directly under Kash Patel. Just as a parenthetically, I'll just tell you, both of these men, in my estimation, have been a complete and utter disappointment, kind of like Pam Blondie. But Bongino had a highly successful podcast. Marina was a big fan of Bongino, and she was disappointed when he left, and I thought he was really good as well. But Bongino got into it with Robert Barnes. Now, who is Robert Barnes? Robert Barnes is an attorney. He has a big presence on social media, including YouTube. Robert Barnes, many of you that watch me follow the Duran as well, and he's been on the Duran. He also has a YouTube channel with Viva Frei. You can look that up, Vivafrei, Viva Frei. Barnes is on, he's not hard to find. You can find him on Twitter, Robert Barnes. I like him a lot. He is a solid guy. But he and Bongino kind of got into a tiff over on X. And this is how it started. Robert Barnes tweeted this, and I quote, "Why did Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, and Pam Bondi shut down inquiry into Trump assassinations and refuse to disclose the Epstein files?" Then he answers his own question. "So war whores could pretend Iran was behind the assassination attempts, and so the world would not know that Epstein worked with Israel. That's what Robert Barnes said. Now I can't verify that. I don't know, but he is saying basically he is apparently making the claim that Epstein worked with Israel. It wouldn't surprise me, of course, but this is how Bongino replied. Now he's been mostly silent on social media, as you might expect, because now he is a paid government official. He's an FBI employee. But he did reply to Barnes, and this is what he said, quote, "Of course, both of these absurd, ridiculous lies are clickbait bullshit designed to inflame people during a serious crisis point in our history. We recently gave an interview to Maria Bartiromo where we clearly stated the opposite. Robert could look it up, but that would get in the way of his clicks. Please unfollow this account if you believe this easily discredited moronic nonsense." Now remember, what Barnes had originally said was that Iran, the looming conflict with Iran was a distraction from the fact that we haven't gotten to the bottom of the assassination attempts on Trump, and because of the fact, these are Barnes' allegations, not mine, of the fact that Epstein had ties to Israel, and that's what Bongino clapped back on. And then Barnes replied to Bongino after that post, and he says this. Notice Dan Bongino doesn't actually rebut the claims. He says they, quote, stated the opposite, quote, to Maria Bartiromo, but he said nothing about Epstein's Israel ties, nor did he say anything about Iran being behind the Trump assassination attempts. Why doesn't he release the files, unquote? Indeed, Robert Barnes, that is the question. Look, I'm at the end of my patience with people like Bongino, Kash Patel, and Pam Bondi. Folks, here we are in June of 2025, at least half a year into the Trump administration, and we still have not had the Epstein files released. We still don't have any more information, publicly anyway, about the Trump assassination attempts, and that's what Robert Barnes is calling Bongino out on. And to be quite honest with you, Bongino sidesteps and obfuscates and does not answer the question. If I could get into a room with Bongino, with Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, I would simply ask them, why have you not released the Epstein files? And you are not giving coherent, and by the way, folks, I'm not completely naive. I don't think we're going to see them released. I don't even know if they exist anymore. I think it's, you can think many things. I believe there's probably some people who would suffer great embarrassment who may be on the Republican side of the aisle, if you get my drift, and we just can't afford to have these names released. That could be it. Hell, maybe Trump's name is on it. I don't know, and I don't care. I want, like Tom Cruise and A Few Good Men, I want the truth. Anybody with me on that? Just release the damn things. Tell us who's on the list. Is that so hard? Why does it take 6 months, for heaven's sakes? Just release them and tell us why we're not getting more information about these assassination attempts on Trump. Don't obfuscate the issue and don't sidestep the issue and don't create another distraction, which Iran is, which gets the American people's focus off of what we should be focused on. I'm sorry, I'm wound up. Nobody's marching in the streets about our debt, are they? Nobody's marching in the streets about the Epstein files, and on and on and on it goes. And people are eating Dan Bongino up on Twitter, and good for them. People are asking him, why are we not seeing perp walks? Why are there no arrests of Obama and Biden and Clinton officials. Why are we not seeing this? Why are we not seeing the arrest of people who persecuted the J6 prisoners? Why are we not seeing some of these nutcase federal judges arrested? Why are we not going after the people who are actually running the Oval Office for the last 4 years? Where are those arrests? Where are those perp walks? Where are the orange jumpsuits? Dan Bongino, Pam Blondie, Kash Patel. Hell, I thought you were on our side. I am so tired of these people. I swear, why do we elect new people? I mean, it's like, here we go again, suckered again. As for Iran, folks, do you know who would be taking the stance that our government is apparently taking with Iran right now? You know who else would be doing that? I'll tell you who. Nikki Haley. Why did we just put Nikki Haley in the White House? Nimrata Nikki Neocon Haley. Why not have her in the Oval Office? Why not just go ahead and let Lindsey Graham be the president? I mean, what's the difference in terms of foreign policy? Now look, somebody pointed out in the comments yesterday, I think it was Tracy, my buddy up in Minnesota, that maybe Trump is just posturing and trying to make a deal, basically. And that may well be the case. I admit that, but I think we've gone too far anyway. I mean, President Tim would simply say, if conflict broke out over there between Iran and Israel, okay, y'all have it out. May the best man win. But you're not getting one thin dime from us. And you're not getting one helicopter or one missile or one fighter jet or one soldier from us. You're on your own. I'm done with this crap. Let Russia and Ukraine fight it out. Let Israel and Iran fight it out. Why the hell does every conflict around the world have to be ours? Why must we get involved? Here we go again, the world's policeman, and I swear it doesn't matter who the president is, Democrat, Republican, Clinton, Bush, Obama, and now Trump, Biden. It doesn't matter. Our foreign policy never changes. We have always got to police the world despite Trump's rhetoric, which is not matching up his current aggressive state with regard to Iran. The other night I was talking yesterday about I guess the day before, when I watched the interview Tucker gave with Ted Cruz. And I recommended that all of you go and watch that interview. I maintain that Tucker basically eviscerated Ted Cruz, if you ask me. That's my take on it anyway. But one of the things that Tucker asked him was really relevant to the situation we're in right now. Tucker started by saying, I cannot, I'm paraphrasing here, folks. Basically, I was in Washington, D.C. this morning, and I stepped off the rail system. I forget what they call it. I've been on it before. I've been to Washington, D.C. a couple of times. And he said, just steps away from the U.S. Capitol, the streets are just strewn with bodies and needles and people just lying in the street all over the place in the nation's capital, just in the shadow of the White House, in the shadow of the Capitol. Yet we are sending more money to all these other nations, such as Israel and Ukraine. And he asked Ted Cruz, how much money did you vote to send to Ukraine? And Cruz, of course, hemmed and hawed, humming. I think he finally gave a number, but Tucker's point was simply this. I believe that one number that was floated out there was $300 million, and Tucker simply said, why couldn't we take that money, if we had it, which we actually don't, but of course all we got to do is print it. Wouldn't it be better for Americans to spend our money on Americans and American cities? Folks, do you realize you can't name for me one major American city right now, I'll bet you, where you could leave your home tonight, get in your car, and drive to the downtown area of a major metropolitan American city, get out of your car, and go for a little stroll. Can you name one city where you can do that? You can't do it in Atlanta. You can't do it in Washington, D.C. Can't do it in San Francisco. Can't do it in L.A. Can't do it in Minneapolis. Can't do it in Dallas. Where can you do it? Can't do it in Birmingham, Alabama. You better be wearing a Kevlar vest if you do. Bodies strewn all over, needles, people defecating in the streets. In American cities. You remember when Tucker went to Moscow and he went out at nighttime? Took a stroll around Moscow? It was nothing like this in America. Nothing. The only time they get their act together in California is when they have like the Olympics coming or the World Soccer Cup or something like that. Then they get everybody off the street. The rest of the... See, this is a Democrat for you folks. Democrats love for people to think they are so compassionate. They are anything but. They are cruel-hearted. They're just bad people. They don't have an ounce of compassion in them. They don't care about people. If they did, they'd do something about this in these cities. And what do all these cities have in common? Anybody got a guess? They're all run by Democrats, folks. Each and every single one of them, they're all run by Democrats. Democrats just don't give a damn. They don't care about people. They want you to believe they do, but they do not. All they care about is empowering themselves and enriching themselves, gaining power and keeping it forever. I'm looking at you, Nancy Pelosi, but boy, it hurts to look at you. Why can't we clean up our cities? Why can't we table Iran? Why can't we forget Kiev and all these other hot spots in the world and direct our interest toward our American cities? Why can't the Fed... I'm not even saying I approve of this, but I mean, hell, if we're going to get involved in other cities internationally by force, why can't Trump just say to the little commie pinko mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, step aside, sweetheart, we're coming in? Why can't he do that? If we're going to invade somebody, why don't we invade California? If we're going to invade somebody, why don't we invade Minneapolis? If we're going to invade somebody, why don't we invade New York? Why don't we do something about our country rather than sending our treasure and our blood to Ukraine or Iran or Serbia or Iraq or all these other nations where we just waste billions of dollars? Why don't we take care of our homeland first? Doesn't that just make sense? If you're the Prime Minister of Japan, where is your concern? It should be for Japan. If you are the Prime Minister of, I don't know, Australia, what should be your primary concern? Australia. If you're the President of the United States, what nation should be your primary concern? Well, it sure as hell ain't Israel, or it shouldn't be. But I come across politician after politician after politician who have such a drive and a motivation and an infatuation and a passion for Israel, which seems at times to exceed their love for their own country, for God's sakes. I'm talking about Ted Cruz. I'm talking about Lindsey Graham. I'm talking about Randy Fine of Florida, who has called for us to drop nukes on Iran and for Israel to nuke Gaza. And this guy, well, I mean, why would you be surprised? He's a Republican, but of course, what difference does that make, right, Hillary? I am America first, period. I hope things will calm down in the Middle East. I hope things will calm down in Ukraine and Kiev and Russia. I hope things will calm down between Pakistan and India. But folks, I got to tell you, I'm more concerned about things calming down in Birmingham, Alabama, and Atlanta, and New York, and San Francisco, and Los Angeles, because I'm an American, thus I am America first. And I thought maybe this time that's what we're getting with Donald Trump. But with each passing day, the light is getting dimmer. All I can do is hope and pray that Trump will back away from this situation and say, you know what? We're done with this. Now, if we can negotiate a settlement and have peace over there between these two nations, I'm all for that. But as far as military activity, folks, we have got to stop. We can't do this anymore. We don't have the money. At some point, the chickens come home to roost, sooner or later. All right, that's what's on my mind today. Give me your comments down below. Love to hear from you. Everybody, thanks so much for watching. Go out there and have a good one. I'll see you soon.